Good. Like, do we have a seat according to our groups?
I'm trying not to move the computer because I've positioned it so you can record the speaker. Okay. All right. So the question is affirmative action a good public policy? This is A period. So we'll start with Team A, the agree team, and then we'll go into Team B.
Do we need to sit with our groups?
Yes, you need to sit with your groups. And I'm going to ask you to close your laptops now too, okay? Close your laptops. Again, there's no card there. So we'll begin with Team A, person 1 and person 2. I have your speeches here on my iPad too, so I'll be referring to them. Yeah, it's always recommended to sit with the team, of course.
So we start from Team A.
We start with Team A, this team, so persons 1 and person 2. So we really have to move, guys. We've only got 40 minutes, so we'll have to keep up this.
Person number 1.
Yeah. Sorry, person 1 and 2. Yeah.
Alright.
Wait, where's the person 2?
I'm person.
I don't know, you guys are a team.
Wait, so we...
Person
G.
Person 1, person
on your thing, you guys didn't really show any persons on your document here. I can't see it. You didn't really do the document correctly. But
У вас тоже person 1.
There's only 6 then.
А то есть я сначала, потом он, а потом person 2.
Да. Нет, сначала person 1, потом person 2, потом person 3.
Yes, sir. I want something projected.
Okay, it's on my laptop. If it's in the document that you shared, it's in the laptop.
But it's better
Too
to
late.
go on the website.
It's too late for that. Okay. Okay, so whenever you're ready.
Affirmative action is an action that refers to race, skin color, and gender. It can benefit some people in education, employment, and business because these people were discriminated in the past. This term means step that's taken to make people equal. For example, to help women have more rights or in the areas like education and business from which they were excluded before in history. Affirmative action is really important because it helps to make individuals equal. It's usually used by government to make sure that all the groups of people are included in all programs and these people are not discriminated. Affirmative action is still valid because it attempts to create an equal life for different groups in the nation. That's it.
It's usually in a debate we don't clap, that's fine. Okay, let's move on to person 2. Is there a person 2?
For over decades, United States, Americans have tortured black people. They saw them as slaves, and they saw them not equal as white people. There's still signs of racism in the United States, and without affirmative action, the colleges would probably choose whites over blacks. So, to prevent the dominance of blacks, to prevent the dominance of white people in the colleges, and have minorities in colleges, we must have affirmative action. Thank you.
So, America's war over affirmative action has gone on longer than any of its military conflicts. Over the years, however, each side of the debate has created a vast argument over the situation. Nowadays, we should remember that the major aim of affirmative action was to achieve a balanced and equal workforce in the society. However, today, as African American students perform worse on the SAT, I'll emphasize that affirmative action may only help us to avoid the more tragic aspect of reality, the ongoing underdevelopment that keeps so many African American students non-competitive. Today's black problem is underdevelopment, not discrimination. Indeed, success in the modern world will require a number of cultural changes. Changes in child rearing, a restoration of marriage and family, or a focus on academics, for instance. But African Americans continuing underdevelopment will uncivilize both races' situation in the society and make most very discussions, mostly racial discussions in society, outside the territory of development. We all hold the opinion, however, that the only measure of success should be skills and individual merit. And without these, the society will never be able to reach equality in employment, educational achievement, and income levels. Today, however, people are embarrassed to speak about the black underdevelopment. So we discuss black underdevelopment in the language of injustice and discrimination. But we don't want to believe that this underdevelopment is primarily the responsibility of people to whom it belongs. Therefore, blaming the children of a racist society is as historically unfair as discrimination of the victims of racism. And no, we are not racist. We all believe that in the fact that America's society has been hugely damaged by racism, and there's no doubt that African Americans have been its greatest victims. But we strongly believe that the affirmative action is not the proper answer. In which capacity we shall declare our resistance with the concept of affirmative action and protest those who consider it as an effective law. And so, as once Friedrich Nietzsche said, as did all gods, now we desire the superhuman to leave. On that great noon, let this be our last will. Thank you.
Amen. Okay, guys.
Amen.
The main reason why we are disagree with affirmative action is because in some way it is racist to the majority group of people. For example, when they choose people for the minority group, of course it's logically that it's a bit unfair to the majority group. If we will imagine that, for example, there is a place in the university, and there are two candidates. One is a white person, and another is a black person. And the white person has better grades, better SAT score, and black person has a bit lower GPA than white person. And still with affirmative action, they will choose a black person. So let me ask you a question. Why did white students actually study for it? He wanted to apply to this university, and they've chosen the black person. So he started to be declined from this university only because of the affirmative action law. He got better grades, and he was declined only because another candidate had a bit worse grades, a bit lower grades, and he maybe was discriminated, but we don't know for sure. And as we said, as Kashi said, we are not racist, we are just against affirmative action.
Okay, guys, keep the timing pretty strict, so 1 minute, you have 1 minute to pose questions to Team A, Team A to Team B. Okay, good. Whenever everyone's expressed to participate in this, at least once.
Gosh, what do you mean by underdevelopment?
Well, underdevelopment, as I said, living in the modern world requires a number of changes, such as a focus on academics, changes in child rearing. And black society has performed much worse than other minority, the white people in this sector. And that means underdevelopment. If you want to build up an equal society, abolish that only development, not the racial preferences.
Why do you think black people have low scores on SATs?
I don't think a statistics should.
Yeah, why do you think?
Well,
Why do you think?
this
Statistics
affirmative
show.
action has kept so many blacks non-competitive, as I declared during my speech.
Okay, so you mean like just because affirmative action they think that
If affirmative action is one of the reasons, I said a number of cultural changes are required.
I mean
What
what I
will-
think is blacks don't get the education they need to make the
No,
requirement.
they
I
have
do not say
opportunity.
I
They
do
have
not say
opportunity
black
to
students are
study.
not as good.
So,
I just say overall black students perform worse. And indeed, one of the reasons is that some of them might think that they have the ability to become accepted with this affirmative action.
Okay, guys, I gotta stop you there.
How
That's
do you-
Team B. Let's take 1 minute to pose questions to Team A as a form, in the form of a question. And then remember, if you participate, let other people speak to it.
Thank you. Well, you talked about equality that affirmative action brings. There is a huge difference between equality and affirmative action. Equality brings a stability. Affirmative action's nature is revenge. I agree with equality of black, female, and men. But affirmative action, what it is doing is revenge because of the events in the past. So what do you think? Don't you think it's revenge and it's a bit different than equality?
You're asking us, right?
I'm asking your group.
Okay. Did you guys say Did you say that?
So you don't believe that it brings equality?
What? No, affirmative action.
Action.
who said that brings it
I heard your speech. If you say it is equality, I would say it is not. And if you say it is not equality, I would agree with you.
wrong?
More like
I don't think so. Doesn't think so.
Why does it matter if it's revenge? It's still somehow like making it equal.
It's not making it equal. It's revenge is what you do to someone because of his father's doing in the past.
Or his grandfather.
I agree, there is racism in American society, but not that much. And it's very little
There's
racism in
huge racism
places
in
like
American
universities and
Racism is
political organisms.
No, I bet if there were no affirmative
You're
action,
looking at the
Congress
wrong
wouldn't
places,
take black
man.
students.
You should look at like
Well, they
you
can
go
only.
on the street.
Well, but
person
affirmative
could
action,
study better than
what are the places that affirmative action function?
Okay.
Universities, jobs,
Okay, guys, we gotta stop it
in
there.
which racism is
Some interesting
so
points.
mild.
So I'm gonna finish my speech.
Write your questions down and save them for the next one, which is after person 3 and 4. So let's move on to Team A. Which is person 3 and person 4.
Ben anlamadım.
Affirmative action caused a 50% drop in the number of minority students enrolled at US Berkeley and UCLA universities. In February, the Supreme Court agreed to hear the case of Fisher versus the University of Texas at Austin, in which a student, a white student, called Abigail Fisher, she claimed that she had been denied admission to the university because preference was given to less qualified minority students, so she couldn't be allowed to go to that school.
Yeah. Dört sorun
İsmi de
başıma kaldı.
bunlar bilirsiniz ne gidiyor.
Okay.
Ne yapacağım biliyorum.
We're trying to do a computer design down, but is your graph?
Yeah.
I can make it bigger.
question for me, right?
New York.
Yeah, yeah. Just for example. One minute. So most of the good ones, everybody can see. Yeah. As you can see on the data, many black people are unemployed. You can see the contrast. Here is the black, is American Indian, and others. But the white people have a good life. As you know, the history of the United States and the racism there, the black people had a hard time. They were treated as slaves. Nobody was fair for them. Nowadays, that's why black people have more opportunities and chances to success. As your point of view, you think it's wrong to give them more opportunities. As our point of view, it's right. Because you think this is revenge. This is kind of revenge, but it means being fair for black people because of the history of their ancestors. Because of, just think about how hard the life was those days. Because you don't feel that feeling that the black people feel about their grandparents. You don't know that feeling. That's why you are arguing. If you would know them, you would agree. And I just want to quote. Kashi said that the problem is underdevelopment, not the discrimination. You think that affirmative action discriminates white people. That is not true. Yes, black students have more opportunities in order to get into university than white students. Yes, it's true. But because of their history, do you want black people selling drugs to your children in the future? Do you want them killing people? Think about your life. Thank you.
That's cool. That's cool.
Okay, thanks, Aaron. Let's move on to person 3 and 4 on the team.
Am I number
I think
3?
it's a 0, yeah.
Is it Emma?
Actually, could you hit the bottom 2 lights?
It says I'm moral. Doing the two. Dumpster.
Okay,
Affirmative action is a giving priorities to minority groups that are excluded in the history. Yet we do not now think that affirmative action serves for it. We don't think that affirmative action serves for its point. For instance, economically low people such as Asians. Now let's imagine a teenager who works very hard by using all the opportunities that he has, and he cannot get into college just because of his race, because he's black and he's white. Can I start over?
you just gotta move on. For 10
Yeah,
seconds, okay?
again, because the glasses.
Better continue.
Or let's think about a doctor or a pilot who Oh, mister, can I start over?
You gotta move on to your own time, so
Okay.
just keep going.
Or a pilot who will carry your life in an airplane. And now I'm asking you again, would you rather him a person who is advantaged from affirmative action or who is the best person in his job? I think there are some problems with affirmative action. It does not only help the economy to develop or to equalize the people, but at the same time it hurts some people.
Okay, thanks, Indio. Okay, you got question, would you hit the lights again? Try not to move the computer too much.
Okay.
But look at the tab.
So,
Like that. I can make it bigger if you move the podium.
okay.
So, as Kennedy already mentioned a little bit, SAT is an important piece of information for students and also admission of college and university in the United States because it's a standardized test and you can see the ability from the scores and it also shows the difference of ability between different races. This data funded by National Center for Education Statistics and also a part of the U.S. Government of Education shows the average SAT score by race from 1990 to 2010. The score, as you can see, the score of African American students lower the average score almost every year. It's here. And the average score is here. And in the class of 2010, black students received an average critical reading score of 424 here, and which is about 70 points lower than average grade. And especially when you compare the black student to the score of black students to the score of white students, you can see great difference of this capacity. And as I already mentioned at the beginning, SAT score is significant information for both students and also admission of college. And because college always wants best students for their school. And therefore, in my opinion, this huge gaps of ability shouldn't be filled with affirmative action. Thank you.
Mr. Rico. Question, can you hit the lights again? Okay, so questions from Team A. Go ahead, Devin. 1 minute.
No, let them first start.
But yeah, but you've also had.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Cassius, you
Okay, I'm completely agree with the graph you
Josh, do
showed.
you want to give someone else on your team?
Okay, of course, but he asked me.
Okay.
So you said that for affirmative action doesn't work for Asians, and
I didn't say that.
No, you said that black people have less jobs than Asians than white people.
Yes.
So why don't you
I said
think?
less than white people. I didn't compare that
And according to
It
a
was
graph,
there,
it was,
but
and according to a graph, it was less than Asians. Why don't you think that this is
Wait,
because
there
Asians
was some
and white people perform better? Why don't you think it is because Asians and white people perform better and black people perform worse, therefore they have less jobs?
First of all, on that graph, maybe you didn't look normal. There was a graph. It said American people, white, not the Asians.
Also Asians.
And also
And
the-
in the
Also
next,
Asians.
and the next one, it's saying Hispanic, and the one after was Asian.
It was Asians. Black people had less jobs than Asians, Hispanic, and white. And you say it is racism. I would say no, it isn't.
There is more racism to black people than to Asians. And that's
There is
true.
a still
Wait,
racism
let me answer.
against white, against black, and Asians. But
They're
as
different
Yuriko said,
races.
Asians perform much better. And
I was
SAT,
giving
therefore,
an
they are more
example
successful.
because I'm not I was just giving an example, the problem to you, why affirmative action should work, why black people have more chances to success, have more opportunities, because there
They
are more
have,
they just
people
don't.
in black.
okay, they have
So, like-
opportunities.
Wait, I didn't finish. Why they should survive? First of all, I give you an example as their history of their ancestors, and second one because of their unemployment.
Yeah, it's true.
You're so conservative. You say because they are less successful, let's give them jobs.
Yeah.
We want to eliminate that underdevelopment to improve black society.
Yes,
And
we want to improve them.
improve
Okay,
white
guys.
society.
Sorry, I'm gonna flip it back the other way.
And this was my last question. I was not asking.
Oh,
Okay, go ahead.
Zero.
yeah, I think they
Okay. I just want a quick question. What is the definition of revenge, if you could tell me that?
when someone did some bad thing to you,
But you're answering
It's
the same
payback.
thing.
Yeah, and you inflict pain to the other person because he has done hurt.
Pain can be physically or spiritually.
But the definition of revenge is if someone has hurted you and you hurt them back.
Yes, so indeed.
But affirmative action does not take revenge, it just basically compensates all black people.
Because Darwin said it's because of the history. For instance, I'm a white person, my grandfather had slaves and he killed them, and now someone else wants to punish me because my grandfather's.
Yeah, but then
Okay,
you're
guys,
not,
we gotta move on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no thanks to
with
the
the-
grandfather.
With the interest of time, though, I'd like to just continue. We'll go 5-6, 5-6, then 7-8, 7-8, and then we'll do the questions at the end. Okay? So let's go ahead with the next person. So if you haven't asked a question or haven't participated in some way, then maybe prepare something. Okay?
I'm not asking questions. You know.
Who's 5? Person 5. Seven.
yeah. Okay. Good morning. Excuse me, I'm still having a bit of a cold. So today I'm here to talk to you about affirmative action, and I strongly agree on affirmative action because affirmative action, basically what it does, as I told you yesterday, reduces the gap between the blacks and the whites. It does the same thing as progressive tax, which reduces the gap between the rich and the poor. So like, I'll give you another example. So in America, you get people who are really, really poor and people who are really, really rich. So progressive tax basically taxes the rich more, like it gives rich people more taxes. So then they are not so rich compared to the poor people, and that reduces the gap. So, I mean, that's what affirmative action basically does. And if you think that what if you think it's basically revenge and we just want to take the white people, like we just want to make them suffer, it's not. It's just giving the blacks opportunities to have a better life, you know, to live a better life, to work, to have better education, to help their future, you know. Without education, where else would they be? And they would be where they are right now. I mean, not right now, but where they were before, in basically ghettos and stuff like places like that. I mean, if you want to do that, yeah, sure. But like, in this world where we live right now, education is really important. If you don't have education, you don't go anywhere. I mean, yeah, you could have your parents' money, but they still have to be rich. However, you can see now, like, because of sort of affirmative action and blacks are having more education and they are starting to learn, you know, they are coming up in the world, you know. And you can see this Obama, he's black and he was voted because of his merits. He's a good speaker. He's so for us. I mean, when you okay,
You gotta finish up.
okay. And so all I have to say is, affirmative action basically reduces the gap and does not do any harm. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, person 6. Okay.
Uh,
You can cut this one a bit shorter if you can.
yeah, okay, I'll cut this one a lot shorter. Ask you a question. Who brought the blacks to America? If you were to think back or find out in history, it was the white people, and who they were brought as slaves, you know. And at that time there was the American dream, but they never got any part of it. So I just have to ask you, why should you? I mean, you brought the blacks, and the whites brought the blacks to America to be slaves. Why shouldn't they like get some compensation, you know, for what their ancestors have come as slaves? They were tortured. They were meant to be like work. I mean, it's like this: you bring an animal to the zoo, you know. All they do is just wait around. They're just caged. I mean, that's basically what you did to the blacks. You know, you just brought them to America, kept them, and then now they're just trying to get their life back. You know, get some education. You guys, I mean, affirmative action can help them to do this. You know.
So, why universities or companies need to make a decision and choose people from a minority group with a faction? Why can't they choose people, for example, with better grades for these places or with better recommendations? Yes, we all know that a big part of the history of our history was slavery, and also women had less rights. But affirmative action, it really looks like a revenge, because in my opinion, people understood the mistake, and so nowadays they have um, like women and men, blacks and whites, Asian, every race, they have opportunity to study, so they have opportunity to become a successful person in the school. So after, if they have better grades, for example, they can apply to the university they want to apply. So, and don't you think that universities should make a decision based on the grades, not on the race? Uh, as I said, we're like not racist and not sexist. We're just thinking that it's wrong to make decisions which are based on the race.
Well, rather than creating harmony and balance, affirmative action unfortunately has only divided the society. For instance, youth have claimed that racial preferences help the disadvantaged and closes the gap. But I would say, does it? In fact, according to Hoover Institution's Thomas Swell, preferences primarily benefit black students from middle and upper middle class backgrounds, those who can easily have proper education without the government's help. As a result, racial preferences may hurt so many poor whites and even Asians, according to a Stanford University, who met admission standards but couldn't be accepted. So if affirmative action was actually going to help disadvantage, it had to be given on the basis of disadvantage, not on the basis of race. Another myth is that affirmative action gives black applicants a small advantage, those who are really have this merit. In reality, however, the average SAT difference between Stanford's African American students and white applicants reached 171 points in 1992, and as black students perform worse on SAT, this number has become bigger. In addition, some might claim that affirmative action promotes diversity. This has led many universities to create racially separated dormitories, racially separated orientation programs, racially separated graduation ceremonies. But if diversity is the goal, the preferences should be given on the basis of different characteristics, and again, not on the basis of race. You also talked about equality in affirmative action. again, I would mention that this will not bring equality. This will bring revenge. You also talked about the history of black people and the way that Europeans brought them. And did you realize that all verbs you use were in the past tense form? And at the end, the tragic aspect of this law is that significant achievements of black students can become less socially valid. It's often hard to whether say if this black student's achievement is his or her merit or just a given preferences. Overall, what is the problem? The basic problem is that the racist past cannot be undone through more racism. With affirmative action, though, we are attempting to solve a problem that no longer exists. Moreover, there's an idea. If such a law, after 25 years, has not worked properly and is still needed, why don't we try something else? Maybe it's not probably the right policy. At the end, I would ask a question. There's only one question to be asked, and this is why should the underqualified son of a black doctor displace the qualified daughter of a Vietnamese boat refugee?
Okay, good question. I think because we're a little bit short on time, what I'll do is we'll finish with the question and answer, and then we'll do 7 and 8 first thing at the beginning of class tomorrow. However, those of you that have done your speeches, you can still do a reflection. I'll still send a video. And then I'll make the test a little bit shorter. So we still have time to do the test after the speech, which is 7 and 8. It's going to be a reading and writing test tomorrow. It's going to be, you'll have an article on racism in the United States. You have to answer a few short questions and do a short writing test. Okay, so I'll make it a bit shorter to make it easier for you. Reflection 7 and 8, you can have an extra day. Okay? So, but everyone else should have your debate reflection ready for tomorrow. So let's go ahead and finish up with questions and answers. So let's go ahead and anyone who hasn't participated, this is your time to jump in. You've got about 3.5 minutes.
Can I ask a question?
Everyone on your team, like,
Okay,
you want
let me think 1 second. Let me just 5 seconds.
you've only had 40 minutes. Okay. Go ahead, John.
Do you think affirmative action is an equivalent solution to rehabilitation of slavery?
Yeah, that's what we'll do. That's what we'll be doing.
I mean, it's a
It's
I
right.
agree.
Not this. At the same time, I agree. At the same time, I disagree. Maybe it's not a little bit I agree. It's a little bit unfair for other people. But I think this is the best solution.
Take this with them.
The best solution that's the people upgraded. If it would be more modified or upgraded, maybe like Pasha said, the United States government can check it. Do that also. I agree.
Affirmative action is not about revenge, it's just about making more equal. To make it
You may answer this question just like the difference between equality and affirmative action is that what? So we say that in order to stabilize our family, for instance, we have got to present women as much as men in society. So we need to give women more opportunities. But affirmative action doesn't give people advantages based on their disadvantages. They just give it based on their race. I said it helps more middle and upper middle class black. They do not need
it gives
affirmative
against the
action.
way
They
to
can have proper
cover.
education, but you give them
It's
opportunities
giving
because they are black.
it's giving advantages to the races who have less opportunities.
Excuse me?
It gives more opportunities to the races who have less advantages, like less opportunities.
It gives more opportunities.
More opportunities to the blacks.
Okay.
They have
Yes,
less.
no more opportunities to those who are from upper middle class and middle class. They can proper education easily. Why do you need to give them affirmative action? Just
Can
because
I
they're
ask a
black?
question?
Yeah, I have a question. So you said like you want to make black people have a better life. So what? Don't you think that if this black person who will have a better life, but other person, white person for example, or Asian, will have a
Remember, I'll take the
Worse life. So don't you think that it's not equal?
I mean,
That's why
You
it's in
just
some ways.
think that black people are the
that would be the
Rich people do the second one.
You have opportunity, black people, they have opportunity to be educated.
But many whites don't.
If you don't have education, you will be anyway.
Yes.
So then the next generation of black people, if you give them opportunities to go to university, they have
Those black
education.
people and those black people who are given affirmative action can't have education.
Yeah, okay.
Because they are from
But they just don't want to. They don't want
That's
to
only
study.
one story.
You don't know about that.
That's
I mentioned that last
not
time.
a
No, it's not. You don't know.
They have opportunity, they just don't want to use it.
Onlar söyleyecek zorunda.
Что-то я уже мнение поменял, потому что
Ama ikincisi
Teşekkür
kim var?
ederim. Bak işte.
Hiç yapmadım
Çok
arkadaşlar.
güzel sıçtım.
Yeah.
Öyle çocuğun sakın
We'll do them first and now. So please be on time. You do that special.
Ah, yeah, yeah.
No problem. Second page. Here you go. What are you doing next year? Are you going to go? Are you staying?
No, I'm gonna start.
Okay. So you're continuing the again, is there any sort of I guess it will be about so they're gonna pick you up when you arrive.
Oh, I'm going to meditate.
Okay, so you need to speak up. I would go do that soon.
Okay.
Okay? Hey, are you? Thanks for we did some grammar stuff. We looked at Leonardo da Vinci and then we watched the film about one.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll go over it today. So,
Dime.
Hola Gonzalo. Te vi el video que te hizo Santiago. En seguridad, yo me metí, me tuve que salir. De todas las actividades que yo tenía machucones aquí eran un toque. Y me cambié a esquí. No, pero al principio sí se pero ahora no sabía. Y estaban.
¿Loca o qué?
¿Qué?
¿Loca o qué? Porque yo siempre la camino